Listen to me. Some of you are suffering not because life is hard, but because you keep bargaining with your own value. You keep sitting at tables where nobody respects you, answering calls that drain you, explaining yourself to people who already decided not to understand you. That's not humility. That's self-abandonment. And every time you abandon yourself, you teach the world that you come last. I need you to hear this deep in your spirit. You don't have to convince anybody of your worth. The sun doesn't beg people to notice it. A diamond doesn't apologize for shining. But somewhere along the way, you started shrinking so other people could feel comfortable. You started overgiving, over-explaining, overstaying, hoping that if you just loved harder, worked harder, tolerated more, they would finally see your value. But people can't see what you keep hiding. Stop negotiating. Stop discounting your soul just to keep customers who don't even appreciate the product. Some of you are giving VIP access to people who only bought a cheap ticket to your life. They show up when it benefits them, disappear when it doesn't, and you still roll out the red carpet. Why? Because you're afraid of being alone. But I'd rather stand by myself in peace than sit in a crowd where I feel invisible. See, self-respect will cost you. It will cost you fake friendships. It will cost you one-sided relationships. It will cost you environments where you were tolerated but never celebrated. And at first, it's going to feel like loss. It's going to feel quiet. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but that silence, that's where your strength comes back. That's where you remember who you were before you started begging for acceptance. You don't chase respect, you embody it. You walk into a room differently when you know you don't need anything from it. Your posture changes. Your voice changes. Your decisions change. You stop saying yes when your soul is screaming no. You stop laughing at jokes that hurt you. You stop staying in conversations that shrink you. Because you finally understand that protecting your dignity is not rude, it's necessary. And let me tell you something else. The people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will call you selfish when you start having some. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you think you're better than them. No, you just stopped thinking less of yourself. You finally realized that your time, your energy, your heart, those things are not unlimited resources for everyone to consume. You were not created to be an option. You were not designed to be convenient. You were not put on this earth to live on clearance. There is a price on your presence, and if people aren't willing to pay it with respect, loyalty, and honesty, they don't get access. Period. Because here's the truth most people don't want to face. When you accept disrespect, you participate in your own mistreatment. Nobody can consistently treat you beneath your value without your permission. And permission doesn't always sound like yes. Sometimes it sounds like silence. Sometimes it looks like staying. Sometimes it feels like hoping they'll change while you slowly disappear. But today is the day you stop disappearing. Today is the day you decide that your peace matters, your voice matters, your heart matters. You don't need applause to validate you. You don't need approval to move forward. You don't need everyone to like you. You just need to stop betraying yourself. Because the moment you stop negotiating your worth, the world has no choice but to meet you at your price. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. You don't lose confidence overnight. You lose it every time you break a promise to yourself. Every time you say, I'm going to start tomorrow, and tomorrow comes and you don't move, you chip away at your own foundation. Every time you hit snooze instead of getting up, every time you choose comfort over commitment, every time you talk big but move small, your mind is taking notes. And after a while, it stops believing you. See, self-respect isn't built in front of a crowd. It's built in the dark when nobody's clapping, nobody's watching, nobody even knows what you're trying to become. It's built when the alarm goes off and everything in your body says stay in bed. but you get up anyway. It's built when you keep working after the excitement is gone. Anybody can be motivated when it feels good. Discipline is what you do when it doesn't. Some of you keep waiting to feel ready. You keep waiting for inspiration to strike, for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, the perfect energy. But champions don't wait for feelings, they move with decisions. Feelings are unreliable. Feelings change with the weather, with sleep, with stress, with who texted you back and who didn't. Discipline doesn't care about any of that. Discipline says, this is who I said I would be, so this is what I'm going to do. And here's why that matters. Every time you follow through, you deposit trust into your own account. You start to believe yourself again. You start walking differently, speaking differently, thinking differently, because deep down you know, if I say I'm going to do it, it's getting done. That kind of inner trust is louder than any compliment anybody could give you. But when you constantly let yourself down, you create an internal weakness nobody else can see, but you feel every day. You start doubting your ability to finish things. You hesitate before committing. You avoid big goals because you don't trust yourself to sustain the effort. It's not that you lack talent, it's that you've trained yourself to quit. Discipline is self-respect in motion. It's proof that you value your future more than your temporary comfort. It's choosing long-term pride over short-term pleasure. And don't get it twisted, it's not glamorous, it's repetitive, it's boring. It's doing the same right things over and over until they become part of who you are. There will be days you don't want to show up, days you feel tired, discouraged, overlooked, frustrated, days when nobody seems to notice the effort. But those are the days that matter most, because when you act with discipline in those moments, you're telling yourself, my commitment is not dependent on my emotions. That's power. That's maturity. That's how unshakable people are built. You want higher self-esteem. Keep the promises you make when you're alone. You want confidence that doesn't crumble under pressure. Become someone who executes whether you feel like it or not. Because when life gets hard, and it will, motivation disappears first. Discipline is what remains standing when everything else falls apart. And understand this too. Discipline doesn't just change your results, it changes your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, and start seeing yourself as someone who does. You stop introducing yourself with doubts and start carrying quiet certainty, not arrogance, certainty, the kind that doesn't need to be announced because it's proven daily. Nobody can give you that. Nobody can hand you self-respect wrapped in a bow. You earn it through consistency, through effort, through showing up again and again long after the excitement fades. So the next time you don't feel like doing what you said you would do, remember, you're not just skipping a task. You're voting on the type of person you're becoming, and the strongest kind of confidence is built when you choose discipline over excuses. You've got to understand something. Your energy is your life force. It's the fuel behind your focus, your attitude, your decisions, your peace. And the reason so many people feel exhausted all the time isn't because they're doing too much. It's because they're carrying too much that was never theirs to carry. Other people's drama, other people's negativity, other people's expectations, other people's opinions. You're trying to pour into your future while leaks are draining you from every direction. Not everyone deserves access to you. Let me say that again so it sinks in. Not everyone deserves access to you. Just because someone can reach you doesn't mean they should have the right to disturb your peace. But when you don't respect yourself, you leave the door wide open. You answer every call, reply to every message, entertain every complaint, absorb every mood. And then you wonder why you feel heavy, why your motivation disappears, why your mind feels crowded even when you're alone. Energy is contagious. Spend enough time around negativity, and it starts sounding like logic. Spend enough time around complainers, and gratitude starts feeling unnatural. Spend enough time around small thinking, and big dreams start looking unrealistic. You don't become what you want, you become what you tolerate consistently. Some people don't want to grow, they just want company in their stagnation. They don't want solutions, they want sympathy. They don't want progress, they want permission to stay the same. And when you start changing, when you start protecting your time, when you stop participating in the same old cycles, they'll say you're distant. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you think you're too good now. No, you just stopped volunteering for emotional exhaustion. Protecting your energy isn't about arrogance. It's about survival. You cannot build a powerful life with a drained spirit. You cannot think clearly with a mind full of noise. You cannot move forward while being pulled backward by constant negativity. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is step back, unplug, and create space to hear your own thoughts again. Peace is not something you find. It's something you defend. It requires boundaries. It requires saying no without guilt. It requires walking away from conversations that don't honor your growth. It requires limiting time in environments that shrink you. And yes, sometimes it requires distancing yourself from people you care about, not because you don't love them, but because you finally love yourself too. You have to stop treating your attention like it's free. Your attention is currency. Whatever you focus on grows. If you keep focusing on problems, drama, and negativity, that's what expands in your life. But when you redirect that focus toward your goals, your healing, your purpose, your discipline, everything changes. Suddenly, you have more clarity, more strength, more patience, more resilience. Not because life got easier, but because you stopped feeding what was weakening you. And listen, protecting your energy also means guarding what you allow into your mind. What you watch, what you listen to, who you follow, what conversations you entertain, all of it shapes your internal environment. You can't fill your head with chaos all day and expect peace at night. You can't consume poison and produce power. Strong people are selective, not cold selective. They love deeply, but they don't give everyone the same level of access. They care, but they don't carry what isn't theirs. They listen, but they don't absorb everything. Because they understand that if they fall apart, they can't help anyone, including themselves. So stop apologizing for needing space. Stop feeling guilty for choosing calm over chaos. Stop explaining why you don't want to engage in things that drain your spirit. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your mind, your heart, or your time. Because when you protect your energy like your life depends on it, you finally have the strength to build a life that does. Let me be clear with you, the world doesn't decide your value. Your value is not determined by how many likes you get, how many people follow you, or how many compliments you hear. Your value is determined by the standards you set for yourself. Every choice you make, every boundary you enforce, every yes and no, you speak aloud. That's what teaches people how to treat you. And most of you are walking around with your standards on clearance, letting people treat you like you're negotiable, like you're optional, like your presence is disposable. That stops today. Self-respect is not passive. It doesn't wait for the world to notice. It speaks through your actions. When you demand respect, you enforce your standards by what you will and will not accept. If you tolerate disrespect, you'll get more of it. If you settle for less than you deserve, you will continue to settle for less. But when you walk into a room and carry yourself like you matter, when you refuse to compromise your dignity just to make someone else comfortable, the world adjusts. People rise to meet your level, or they remove themselves from your life. Either way, you win. The problem is most people fear being alone, so they lower their standards. They stay in relationships where love is conditional. They stay in jobs where appreciation is scarce. They stay in friendships where loyalty is one-sided. They convince themselves that anything is better than nothing. But nothing is better than living beneath your worth. Nothing is better than shrinking yourself so the world can feel comfortable. Let me tell you something about standards. They are not negotiable if you want to honor yourself. If someone repeatedly disrespects you, it's not about them. It's about what you allow. Every time you allow someone to cross a line, you are teaching them that crossing lines is acceptable. But when you enforce your boundaries consistently, you send a message that your peace, your time, and your dignity are non-negotiable. And once that message is clear, the quality of people, opportunities, and energy in your life rises automatically. Setting high standards doesn't make you selfish. It makes you self-aware. It makes you someone who understands that their presence is valuable. It makes you someone who knows that the way you allow people to treat you today sets the precedent for every interaction tomorrow. If you continue to tolerate what diminishes you, you are guaranteeing that you will be diminished again. But when you refuse to accept anything that doesn't align with your value, people either elevate themselves or exit your life, and that's exactly what should happen. You cannot grow, you cannot succeed, and you cannot achieve your purpose if you are constantly giving people permission to treat you beneath your worth. Your standards are a reflection of how much you respect yourself, and respect is contagious. When you respect yourself, others are forced to respect you. When you don't, the world fills the vacuum with what you allow. That's how life works. So stop lowering your standards to make people comfortable. Stop shrinking your goals, your dreams, your voice, and your presence. Stop tolerating anything less than what you know you deserve. Because the moment you fully embrace your value and enforce your standards, you stop being at the mercy of other people's opinions. You stop being negotiable, you stop being optional, you stop being a spectator in your own life, and the world will have no choice but to meet you at your level.